There's a quiet hour just past midnight when sleep feels like a stranger. For many seniors, lying awake becomes a nightly ritual, thoughts circling, memories echoing, worries building walls between them and rest. But what if the answer isn't in another pill? Across Europe and America, more and more older adults are turning to a surprisingly simple habit: writing. Not novels, not poetry, just thoughts. And the science behind it, remarkable. In this video, we explore how this tiny act is transforming lives after 60. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell to stay inspired with new episodes from Elderly Reflections. You know, no one really tells you that after 60, sleep stops being something natural and starts becoming a quiet battle. I used to think it was just my back, or maybe the old bones reminding me of my age, but the truth is, most nights it's not the body that keeps you awake. It's the mind. After the lights go off and the house goes still, that's when the thoughts come. Old regrets, conversations I should have had, the things I wish I could change. And I've learned something along the way. When you don't give those thoughts a place to go, they start living rent-free in your sleep. That's why I want to talk to you about something simple, something that helped me and helped many others I've met on this path: writing down your thoughts before bed. First, let's talk about the weight we carry, emotionally. Most of us after 60 or 70, we've been through more than we ever say out loud. Some of us have lost a spouse, sibling, or even a child. Some of us carry guilt from things we said in anger or chances we didn't take. The mind becomes a crowded attic, full of old boxes labeled "someday I'll deal with this." And at night, that attic creaks. Dr. Lillian Marcus, a geriatric psychologist from Toronto, once said, "Unprocessed emotion doesn't disappear with age. It only gets quieter until the night comes." That hit me, and it reminded me of my old neighbor George back in Minnesota. He's 72 now. One evening over tea, he said, "You know, my body's exhausted, but my mind keeps me up, thinking about stuff from the 70s. Why'd I yell at my brother that day? What if I had stayed in Chicago?" That's the storm. And writing became his umbrella. He started journaling before bed, not to be poetic, just honest. It gave his thoughts a place to land. Then there's the science, because this isn't just emotion, it's biology. When we're stressed, the body releases cortisol. That's the hormone that tells your brain, stay alert, there's danger. But the danger isn't a bear chasing you, it's the fear of being forgotten, or the pain of remembering too much. A study from psychosomatic medicine showed that writing for 15 to 20 minutes a night, just letting your thoughts out, can lower cortisol levels. Think about that. Writing can calm your body's stress response. And it doesn't have to be perfect grammar, just write what's real. That's what Elaine did. She's 68 from Birmingham. Her husband passed 5 years ago. The first night she opened her journal, she said, "I cried before I wrote, then I cried while I wrote. But after that, I finally slept through the night." What changed? Her mind stopped shouting because she gave it a voice. Now let's talk about loneliness. No one warns you how loud it can be. You can have 3 kids and 7 grandkids and still feel invisible at the dinner table. That's where writing becomes more than therapy. It becomes company. It's a conversation with the one person who always listens, yourself. Carlos, a retired naval officer from Florida, told me something that stayed with me. He said, "Every night I write a letter to myself. Sometimes I begin with, 'Dear me, you did your best today.' Other times I write, 'I know you're scared, but I'm proud of you.'" That's not just writing, that's healing. It's how we turn isolation into self-compassion. And over time, it changed the way he spoke to others too. More patient, more open. But another reason writing helps so much, especially for us older folks, is because it organizes the chaos. We think we're overthinking, but really we're just under-processing. Questions bounce around at night like moths trapped in a jar. What if I had taken that other job? Did I raise my kids right? Will I be remembered? These aren't small questions, but they don't need answers right away. They just need space. Writing creates that space. Harvard researchers even found that journaling improves mental clarity in seniors, especially when it includes gratitude or reflective questions. Take Margaret, 69, from Belfast. She struggled with anxiety after menopause. She started a habit called brain dumping, where she'd write every thought before bed, no matter how silly or serious. She laughed when she told me, "It wasn't a pretty notebook. I called it the dump book, but it saved my sleep." See, it's not about eloquence. It's about emptying the jar before you turn out the light. And there's one more reason writing works. Maybe the most powerful one: legacy. At this stage in life, many of us start wondering, will they know who I was? Will I leave something behind besides bills and photo albums? That's where legacy journaling comes in. It's not about your resume. It's about your lessons, your memories, your values. It's about leaving behind your elderly wisdom. Eugene, 81, from Oregon, said something that gave me chills. He said, "I write letters to my grandkids every Sunday. I tell them about what I got wrong, what I survived, and what I hope they'll never have to learn the hard way. If they never read them, that's okay. But if one day they do, they'll know their grandpa wasn't just a quiet old man. He was a man who tried." That's powerful. So now that we know why writing helps after 60, let's talk about the how. Because let's face it, when someone says you should start journaling, the first thought is usually, okay, but what do I write? That blank page can be intimidating. That's why I want to walk you through 5 simple but powerful writing methods that have helped real seniors sleep better, feel lighter, and even rediscover parts of themselves they thought were long gone. You don't need to be a writer. You just need to show up with a pen and be honest. Gratitude journaling. The smallest things calm the biggest storms. I want to start with the easiest and most underrated method: gratitude journaling. Each night before bed, you write down 3 things you're grateful for. That's it. It sounds simple, almost silly, but it shifts the entire tone of your evening. Gratitude has been proven, yes, proven in studies from UCLA and Johns Hopkins, to reduce anxiety, lower blood pressure, and improve sleep quality. Why? Because your brain can't be in a state of... Let me tell you about Judith, a 77-year-old retired librarian from Pennsylvania. She told me, "I used to go to bed with all my worries, my mortgage, my knees, my distant son. But then I started writing 3 things every night that I was thankful for. Sometimes it was just my hot tea, my cat's purring, the sunset I saw. You know what changed? Everything. I stopped sleeping in fear. I started sleeping in peace." Gratitude doesn't erase problems. It just reminds you that joy still exists, even in small doses. 2. Letter writing to yourself, to your past, or to someone you miss. Another beautiful method is writing letters, not to mail, but to heal. Letters give you permission to say things you've never said, to people who are gone or still living, or even to your younger self. This type of writing is deeply emotional and incredibly freeing. Eleanor, 80, from Michigan, told me she started writing letters to her late husband every week. "I tell him about my day, the soup I made, the news. Sometimes I cry while I write, but it feels like I'm not alone anymore. It's our little conversation." These letters gave her closure, connection, and comfort. All things that used to keep her tossing in bed for hours. And it's not just for grief. Some write letters to their younger self. "Dear 25-year-old me, you did better than you thought." Or even to an estranged child, "I forgive you. I hope someday you'll forgive me too." Writing letters helps you release what's been trapped inside for too long, and that release leads to rest. 3. The dump journal. Emptying the mind before bed. Now let's talk about a method I personally love: the dump journal. It's not elegant, but it works like a charm. The idea is simple. Write every thought in your head before bed. No editing, no filtering. Just let it spill. It's like sweeping your mental floor before you lay down. Richard, 74, from Seattle, started doing this after his doctor suggested journaling for anxiety. "I didn't know where to start, so I just wrote everything. I'm mad about my doctor's appointment. I forgot to buy bread. I miss my sister. I hate the sound the heater makes." After about 20 minutes, my brain was empty, and I slept like a rock. That's the magic of the dump journal. It doesn't fix anything, but it gives your mind permission to stop spinning. When your thoughts are on paper, they're not screaming inside you anymore. They're outside, manageable, and you finally can rest. 4. The memory journal. Pre-Stillers, preserving your story, 1 page at a time. Have you ever had a memory visit you late at night? A smell, a sound, a face from long ago? Our brains don't forget. We just stop talking about the things that made us who we are. That's why writing memories down isn't just nostalgic. It's healing, and for many seniors, it becomes a way to sleep better and feel proud of the life they've lived. Henry, 79, from Georgia, started what he calls the Book of Me. Every night he writes one memory from his past. The day I got my first truck, the first time I kissed my wife, the fire we had in '63. These aren't just stories, they're my legacy. And writing them down gave me peace I didn't know I was missing. His kids found the notebook one day and cried. Dad, his daughter told him, I never knew any of this. Thank you for writing it down. See, the memory journal does two things. It helps you remember your value, and it gives those you love a way to remember you too. 5. Reflection prompts, answering the quiet questions before sleep. Finally, we come to one of the most powerful tools, prompts. These are gentle questions that help guide your writing and get you thinking in a meaningful way. They're especially helpful when you don't know what to write. Try questions like, what did I learn today, even if it was small? What emotion did I feel most strongly today? What is one thing I wish I had told someone? What's something I forgive myself for? These questions go deeper than small talk. They help you process the day, understand your emotions, and lay your burdens down for the night. Thomas, 70, from New York, uses a reflection journal every evening. He said, I answer one question a night. Sometimes I write 2 sentences, sometimes 2 pages. But I sleep better because I've closed the day with intention. I'm not carrying it into my dreams. And he smiled when he added, it's like giving the soul a bedtime story. Now, maybe you're thinking, that all sounds nice, but I'm not a writer. Let me tell you something. You are, if you've lived 60, 70, 80 years, a storyteller. Even if no one's handed you a microphone. Every night you write, you honor what you've survived. You give shape to things that once felt formless. And you give your body the message it's been waiting to hear. You can rest now. I've listened to you. After you've lived long enough, you stop being impressed by theories. What moves you is results, real change. I've seen it with my own eyes. People in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, who once lay awake every night, hearts racing with invisible burdens, now sleeping peacefully, not because life got easier, but because they finally started talking to themselves. On paper, I remember Mary Ann, 69, from Vermont. She used to joke that she was an Olympic-level warrior. Every night she'd toss and turn for hours, running through what-ifs, old arguments, the fear of outliving her money and outliving her usefulness. Then one day her granddaughter gave her a journal with a note inside that said, write down what you'd say to me if I asked, what's on your mind, Grandma? That night, Mary Ann wrote a page. The next night, 3 pages. After 2 weeks, she told me, I slept 8 hours for the first time in years. Because I finally had somewhere to put all the noise. That's not theory, that's transformation. And it's not just the mind that heals, the body follows. Frank, a 73-year-old retired plumber from Texas, battled high blood pressure for over a decade. His doctor prescribed medication, diet, walks, which he did, but nothing changed until he started daily gratitude journaling. At first it felt dumb, he laughed. What does writing about my dog or my cup of coffee have to do with my health? But 6 months in, his blood pressure dropped. Even his doctor was stunned. Turns out, gratitude isn't just an emotion, it's a physical experience. When the mind calms, the heart follows. Frank's story reminded me that peace doesn't always come from fixing the outside. It often starts from within. Then there was Sheila, 66, from Manchester. A sharp-witted woman, full of life but carrying decades of guilt over her estranged relationship with her sister. We hadn't spoken since 1994, she told me. Too many things left unsaid. Too many egos in the way. One night, unable to sleep again, she pulled out an old notebook and wrote a letter to her sister. Not to send, just to get it out. She cried halfway through, laughed at a memory, forgave things out loud. And by the time she put the pen down, something inside had shifted. She later told me, that letter didn't fix the past, but it unclenched my heart. And that night I slept without waking once. This is what writing does. It gives the soul a place to soften. And when the soul softens, sleep follows. But what strikes me the most is not just how writing brings rest. It's how it brings rediscovery. So many of us, as we age, start to feel invisible. The phone rings less, our calendars grow quieter, and slowly, a question starts to form in the dark. Am I still useful? That's where the memory journal becomes more than nostalgia. It becomes evidence, Proof of a life deeply lived, of lessons learned. The hard way? Of laughter that once shook the room, of grief survived, of resilience earned. Hank, 82 from North Carolina, started a notebook called Things I Almost Forgot. In it, he wrote memories from his boyhood, his marriage, his military service. His daughter found it one afternoon and said, "Dad, this is a book. It's a treasure." Hank cried when he told me. I didn't realize I had done so much. I'd spent years thinking I hadn't left a mark, but I read my own words back and thought, maybe I did. See, that's what I want you to know. Your story matters. Writing it down isn't just for sleep, it's for your dignity. And sometimes it's in the quietest writing that the loudest healing happens. Thomas, a 70-year-old widower in Denver, never thought of himself as spiritual, but he used bedtime prompts every night for a year. One question stuck with him. What is something I forgive myself for today? He told me that at first he had no answer. Nothing, he said. I didn't feel I deserved forgiveness. But after a few weeks, something cracked open. He wrote, I forgive myself for not knowing how to love better when I was younger. And the next night, I forgive myself for how I handled my father's last days. He said it was like I'd been carrying around a backpack full of bricks, and each night I took one out. Today he sleeps, not because his life got easier, but because his heart got lighter. I want you to ask yourself one gentle question. What's still sitting inside you that wants to be heard? You don't have to tell the world, just tell the page. Let your words be messy, honest, even angry if they need to be. But don't let them stay locked inside, because when we write, we heal. And when we heal, we rest. At this stage in life, rest is not a luxury, it's our right. We've earned it through every tear, every scar, every moment of resilience. Writing isn't about being perfect, it's about being present. If today's message spoke to you, I'd be honored if you'd give this video a like. Maybe even share it with someone who lies awake too often. And don't forget to subscribe for more elderly wisdom, life lessons, and senior health insights, like this one. And now I'd love to know where you're watching from. Leave a comment below. I read every one. Until next time, sleep peacefully. You've said what needed saying.